Fernando Sanchez, and I'm in the Political Science 305 course, and I'm going to be doing my case study on the higher education system in the states of New York and California. And there is a reason why I did this. Growing up, I always wanted to be a part of the New York's higher education system. I wanted to attend university over there, but as I grew up, I realized it wasn't really much of an affordable thing for myself. So I stayed locally, and I'm pretty happy to say I attend Cal State Fullerton. And so let's begin. So, introduction to this case study. I was going to do an exploration into the higher education systems of two of the most popular states in the country. California has almost 3 million students enrolled into their higher education system, and New York has about 1.8 million. Both systems have been known for not being highly loved by the citizens of their state, but they have continued to be running efficiently. What is higher education? Why is it significant? I took this quote from a website that I used, and it said, "This system embodies some of the best qualities of U.S. culture and society: flexibility, openness, and an environment that encourages innovation." So first, I'm going to be breaking down California's higher education system. So California has a total of 454 colleges and universities, broken down into 150 public institutions, 157 nonprofit private institutions, and about 147 for-profit private institutions. The public institutions are broken down into community colleges, two-year colleges, and public universities, which are the CSUs and the UCs. Funding at the community college levels are an all-time high right now, along with the Cal Grant program. I happen to be a recipient of that Cal Grant program. Many believe higher education in the state is still unaffordable and hard to reach. California does a great job, however, in providing assistance to those who are seen as a minority or less likely to attend universities. California's higher education system does have a problem with the direct links to the workforce after colleges. Continuing with California's higher education system, we can see that Asian and whites are the leading groups in receiving degrees, and the state is attempting a push to help Hispanics and blacks reach goals at this time. So what they did was they added a lot more resources and helpful programs for them. Putting in long-term goals to help have a more diverse higher education system is something that California is prioritizing at the moment. Next, we're going to break down New York's higher education system. So with New York, they as well have a higher number of institutions, with 309 colleges and universities broken down into 81 public institutions, 184 non-profit private institutions, and 44 for-profit private institutions. New York's public institutions are broken down to State University of New York, the SUNY, and City University of New York, the CUNY, kind of like the CSUs, the UCs. New York's public school system is smaller and weaker at this state, as mostly dominated by private institutions at the higher education system. Citizens believe still higher education is unattainable and too expensive in the state. Graduation rates also are a little bit lower than the national average, so the state has started to implement various programs and goals to set forward to improve this. Continuing with New York, we get to see that out-of-state tuition is very expensive. So kind of what happened to me, it was very hard to attain that out-of-state tuition and be able to pay it. And it's because they know a lot of students go for the experience, the whole Big Apple experience that I was trying to achieve, and it became too expensive. When the recession hit New York, they decided to move a lot of their funding away from the higher education sector, but they're slowly moving their funds back, as well as with plans and policies. It does buffer a lot, sorry about that. So we're going to start to break down the similarities between the two. So when it comes to similarities, both states share similar structure when it comes to the division of public funded education. The community college, then to the CSU, the SUNY, and the CUNY, and the UCs, kind of the same thing. Both states have issues with their affordability and have been criticized for their high tuition. Graduation rates are lower in New York, however, both are about below the national average. They are top 5 in holding the most students, California being first and New York being third in the country at the higher education system. Top 2 in taking foreign students from countries all over the world, California first, New York second. Systems both have made long-term legislation to increase funding and kind of bring more of a equality to their system. Now some differences between the two. Some differences include California has a majority of now Hispanics and has much more diverse population, giving them a chance to experiment with their higher education system. California does not have more of their California does have more of their funds. Sorry about that. Being dispersed into the higher education system at the moment and moving forward as well. New York's majority is white, therefore they are moving toward a little bit of a different plan where they push more minorities into the higher education system. California was the first to allow NCAA athletes to get paid for their name and likeness, adding a way to pay for tuition and expenses. I thought this was interesting and a good push because most of these athletes are unable to pay their expenses. They have no choices for a job as they have to have practice in games. And New York has followed and other states. So I think a great push for that was done by the California legislation. And to conclude the case study, state legislators have a lot of work left to do in both states when it comes to the improvement of their higher education systems. They're not perfect, but they have been effective. Their systems aren't perfect, they're effective, and they do the job, but they are working towards a better future with long-term goals, long plans, which is great. Increasement of funds hopefully will help both states as well as push for more equity and equality in both systems. Thank you for listening.